And Joseph, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm here from the Katy Eco Initiative, but what I'm presenting is a cross-community initiative. The slides are available online. They include links to the sources from some of the things I'm presenting. So many of you may know this comic. If you do, what does the dog say at this moment? This is fine, right? So that was the original version of the comic. This is an updated version from the same artist a couple years later, where the dog starts to say the famous, "This is fine," but then coughs. So I've been giving talks similar to this one for a few years now, and I usually try to start with something that is topical or regional for the time or place that I'm giving the talk. And I'm gonna just do a quick recap of some of the headlines that I've started with in my presentations. So this is from the CCC in December 2023. This is a graph of the temperature globally and in Hamburg. Hamburg is on the top. Globally, it's on the bottom, and this is an average from 1971 to 2000 as the midpoint, and then how the temperature has varied since we started measuring the global temperature over time. And you can see a very clear trend that the temperature is going up. This is from 2024. In April, the Antarctic had a staggering 38.5 degrees Celsius measurement, the highest it's ever been recorded. This is the coldest place on Earth. This was, again, from April at a sprint. This was at the time, again, topical at the moment, that ocean heat was at record temperatures. It had never been, you can see the average of all years since 1981 below 2023, so it's going up. 2024 is going up even higher. One of the reasons that they think the change was happening at this point was that they were regulating certain gases that actually was keeping the temperature down. And once they removed those gases, we were actually probably seeing a more accurate estimate of what the global temperature is for the oceans. This was from a presentation last October, the hottest summer on record last year, 2024. So it's really easy to find these headlines, unfortunately. So this is from February, a presentation. January was the hottest month on record. This is from a presentation in March to a German audience. Again, an article about the hottest summer last year, 2024. Presentation earlier this month in India. Just looked up what is the news about climate change in India. February was the hottest month on record. This is right before this presentation. Just looked up climate in 2025 in March, April. This headline comes up, third warmest on record. So there's a trend here, right? We're in a crisis. This is from that same comic. So instead of the "this is fine" statement, it's now updated to "what the fuck was I even thinking?" There was no reason to let it last this long and get this bad. We've known about this issue for a very long time. The first research done on the interaction of gases with the sun were done by a woman named Eunice Newton-Foote in 1856, so about over 150 years ago. Looking at the interactions of various gases to see what happened, and what was found was that the container with CO2 became itself much heated, and on being removed from the sun, it was many times as long in cooling. So the effects that we're seeing now are going to take a very long time to go back down, if they go back down. This is from an article from 1912, in which CO2 is described as a blanket for the Earth, and that this effect is going to be considerable in a couple of centuries. We're now over a century later, and it is considerable. In the updated version of the "This is Fine" dog, This is Fine dog quits. Says, "This is not a joke anymore, my God," and then sits in despair in an empty room. It's not the time to quit. I hope it's not too late to reverse some of these things. There are tipping points that are coming up. It'll get much harder once we reach those tipping points to do something. I don't usually quote the Pope, but I thought this was actually a very, very nice document released about 1.5 years ago about climate change, in which the Pope really praises climate activists and calls governments to task for not doing more. And I think this is a nice quote that every little bit helps, and avoiding an increase of 1/10 of a degree in the global temperature would already suffice to alleviate some suffering for many people. So even if we can't, we should do the best we can, because it will actually have an impact for some people, especially the most vulnerable amongst us. Okay, so then a question to the boardroom. We're kind of like in a board meeting here. How would you finish this sentence? The most environmentally friendly device is? None? That's one answer. Okay, so someone has been following some of the work that we've been doing. So I'm going to come back to that in just a second. So this is just a recap that currently the ICT sector is contributing about 3% of global CO2 emissions. It's predicted that so all models predict they're going to rise over time. In the worst case scenario, it could get up to about 1/3 of all global CO2 emissions. So our area, what we are doing, has an impact, a big impact. We're one part of that. This is another very important data point. This is a look at the energy consumption of the ICT sector from the International Energy Agency. This is from 2019, so it might be a little different now, but it gives you a sort of idea of what contributes to that energy consumption. And the red here is the important point that manufacturing is half of the energy consumption of the entire sector. And when we look at by device, CO2 emissions in usage and production. You can see here production, which is the orange part of the bar plot, is the majority of the CO2 emissions over that device's life cycle. Okay, so all of the devices we have embodied carbon in them. That's the production side. There's the e-waste side of things. E-waste is a problem that is continuing to grow. In 2015, Achim Steiner from the United Nations Environmental Program described it as a tsunami of e-waste rolling out over the world. At that time, it was about 45 million metric tons of e-waste generated in 1 year. Fast forward 6 years, 7 years, 2022, it was a 30% increase, and it continues to increase. This is a statue built out of e-waste to represent the average amount of e-waste over a English citizen's lifetime. It's about 3.3 tons of e-waste generated, and the statue is 7 meters tall, which is quite high if you stand next to something that's 7 meters tall. And this is a statue that's part of this Waste Electrical and Electronic Equipment initiative, which I'll come back to in a little bit. So I hope now everyone who then fills in the gap for the sentence, the most environmentally friendly device, is the one you already own.
And the device which stays eternally supported, which is not planned obsolescence by the manufacturer or by the maker of the operating system.
Exactly. That's what this is representing. I'm not going to go into details here. I've given a couple talks where I look at the idea of a circular economy in terms of software and hardware use. And because software that is independent of the vendors can continue to be maintained, for example, printers, Till actually gave a good example of printers. In Windows, with WSL, you can actually keep using printers that Windows has stopped supporting.
As you are using Linux drivers under WSL, and so you can continue to use your old printers under Windows as long as they are supported under...
Just because attendees don't like to hear you.
Yes. Yes, one thing is with the printers under Windows, they are quickly going end of life because the manufacturers stop supporting them, Microsoft stops supporting them. But under Windows, we are lucky we have WSL, and when we run Ubuntu under WSL, we can simply install printer application snaps. These are Linux printer drivers.
Great.
And when the printer works under Linux, you do not need to switch over to Linux to have it eternally supported. You can run the printer application, which is a Linux driver for.
I only have 10 minutes, so I want to get to the next part. So thank you,
Then
Till.
you can
Thank you, Till.
save your printer.
Thank you. So you can use things for longer. You can reuse and recycle. With proprietary software, you are dependent on the vendor for all of those steps. So now I'm coming to the main point here, the End of 10 campaign. This is a campaign that is a cross-community initiative. Windows 10 End of Life is the 14th of October this year. It's estimated that about 240 million devices cannot upgrade to Windows 11, and if they don't change operating systems, they will become e-waste or continue to be used in an insecure way. 14th of October is also International E-Waste Day from that same forum, and we're not making this up. It's also KDE's 29th birthday. So the stars are kind of aligning for us to do something about this. In SFSCon in November last year, I put a call for a BOF to start organizing this campaign. Some people in this room were there, Tobias. Some people who are not in this room are active in our matrix room, and coordinating a campaign across free software communities to raise awareness about the End of 10 and the effect it will have on e-waste, among other things, and trying to promote Linux as the better alternative. So we have a list of 5 reasons on our website. The website design, which is great, is thanks to Tobias, implemented by our website developer, Nico. We have 5 reasons. It's cheaper, there's no ads, no spying, it's good for the planet, you get community support, and users have control. And we have a strategy that we want to follow to get attention from end users. So first, we want to support existing support networks that are already there and already doing Linux installation and Linux user support. We want to get attention from organizations and the media and build up new support networks. And I'm going to give some examples of all of these. So the first step is we are focusing on places and events for end users to get support. The DIY install we're treating as an edge case that our focus is on the actual in-person support. It doesn't mean that if someone wants to install on their own, they shouldn't do that, but there's plenty of resources online that already exist. What we're providing as something new is collecting information about where people can go to actually get support from real people. Here's some example of places. I don't know if you can read that. These are a couple of repair cafes. So we already have several. We have Denmark, Germany, Austria is in there, and some others. If you know of any repair cafes, please contact us. Get in touch, contact the repair cafe, see if they want to join our campaign. We have events. There's actually an install event happening right now in Austria at Grazer Linux Tage. They are doing a test of our hashtag campaign, End of 10, where people take a photograph of their device that they have upcycled, post it with the hashtag End of 10. You can look on the Fediverse to see if anyone's doing that. There's also an event in Mexico that's happening today. There's several events as part of a Latin American free software multinational conference happening in Argentina, Uruguay, et cetera, today and tomorrow. You can find all of these on the website. Step 2, and this is why it's nice to have kind of like a boardroom setup, we want to engage supporting organizations. And this is a quick, I'm not a graphic designer, I just put all the logos that I could find of all the Linux App Summit organizations, supporting organizations or talks, to put them all in one place and say, all of you are here, you're doing great work in Linux, we want your support to say, yes, we think this campaign is a good idea and we think we want to support them by putting our name into the list of supporting organizations. So when we do outreach to the media, we can say, look at all of these people who say, this is a good campaign, we support this, we want to see this succeed. We're trying to get attention from end users and the media. This is an example of an ad that the KDE Eco Initiative put out in Ökotest in Germany to raise awareness about the end of support for Windows 10 and what can be done about it. And it redirects here to the website, endof10.org. And then the third step is building up new support networks. This is a map from anstiftung.de, which is a repair cafe network and we did a presentation with them about a month ago to 180 volunteers at repair cafes to present Linux as a repair aspect of device usage, right? It's as important as a battery. If your software is not supported, you can't really use that device, or at least you can't use it securely. All of those little suns, Germany is not that sunny. Those are different repair cafes around. We want to build up these kind of networks as a third step in the campaign. So if you know of places that might be interested in this kind of thing, please be in touch. This is good for the environment, it's good for penguins, it's good for GNUs, it's good for geckos, etc. So we want to see that we can keep devices in use for longer. All that embodied carbon that went into the production of it doesn't go to waste, prevents it from ending up as e-waste and being processed in horrible conditions. And it's good for Linux, and it's good for the environment. This is a win-win situation. Okay, so the last 5 minutes, I'm going to focus on this. We want you as a supporter. And this is our plan, this is our strategy. We're going to do 2 rounds of outreach and a press release in May. So we're going to start outreach to primary stakeholders. Those are people who are going to be directly impacted by this campaign. That is, their software is going to be installed, et cetera. So we're going to reach out to various Linux organizations. We're going to reach out to environmental organizations that are doing similar sort of repair work. And so, like, for example, the Right to Repair Europe is one of the organizations we reach out to, as well as other organizations that are already involved in some way with the campaign. And try to get them to give feedback of what we're doing so we can get an idea of what they think could be better. If they disagree with something, et cetera, they can give some feedback, and then we will try to incorporate that into the website and into the campaign. The second round will be to general supporting organizations to get as many people supporting us as possible. And then we're going to release a press release and an official website launch at the end of May. The website is already online, so you can check it out at end10.org, but the official launch will be later this month. So this is something I want to address head on. We are intentionally distro agnostic in our outreach as a campaign. We are focusing on the places and events, and what those places and events choose to do is up to them. If they want to recommend one distro over another, that's their choice. We may at some point need to make some guidelines of what we support, but that's not the case right now. And right now we are remaining completely distro agnostic. We're not recommending any particular distro. We want as many organizations to be able to refer to this website as a central point where they can say, we support this campaign, without saying we support this particular distro, right? Does that mean that you can't promote your own work if you are a distro, if you're OpenSUSE or GNOME or KDE? No, of course you can promote your own work. It's just the official campaign is not going to do it. You can refer to End of 10 and say, you know, we think KDE is great, we think GNOME is great, here are the reasons why, End of 10, here's the website. But there are 2 caveats if you want to do this and be in good graces with us as a campaign. You cannot disparage other communities, so it's no, our software is better, theirs is bad. Right? That's not okay. We're not going to accept that. And you have to make it clear you're speaking for your community and not for the campaign itself, right? So you can totally support your work in the context of this campaign. It's just the official website and Fediverse account that will be doing promo will not be recommending any particular distro. We're going to have activities ramping up to 14th of October. This is still in planning. If you have ideas, get in touch. We have a repository with ideas that are being collected. There are other ways to contribute. You can contact Linux groups in your hometown. This is from a now defunct hackerspace in Albania, in Tirana, called Open Labs. It has, I think there's now another project that came out of this. But this is actually, many people I think who are here were actually involved in this. So you can contact them, see if they do Linux support, see if they want to organize install events, get them involved in the campaign, get their information onto our website. We have some materials. We're going to have more materials. We have some flyers that Tobias has designed. This is a pamphlet that Anita has designed about the environmental aspects of free software, or promotional materials for the campaign itself, or repair cafes. You can help distribute them, translate them. There are many other ways to contribute. You can go to the website, endof10.org/contribute, or you can join our matrix room, win2linux:/kd.org, and contact us. There's many people on the team doing work here. So Tobias, me, and then people who couldn't be here, Tobias, Nico, Bettina, Carolina, Nicole, and Gerardo are all doing great work with outreach, design, implementing the website, etc. If you want to join, we'd be happy to have you. I really would love to see this be a unified voice from the free software family. Future ideas. So hopefully this will not be the end of this kind of outreach. We're focusing on end of 10 as a moment of friction for end users that maybe we can get their attention and say, look, Linux exists, it's a good alternative, try it. Don't throw away a device, there's reasons not to. End of support for Intel chip Macs is coming up. Let's do an iWaste campaign, right? We have opportunities. Now we're building up this network, we now have materials, we can then easily transfer this into other areas where vendor dependency results in devices being wasted. And one last point, we have some ideas of a school outreach campaign for the future. I just wanted to point that out, and I'll leave it at that. This is something that we did in the KDE Eco Initiative, where we went to a school in Hanover, taught a bunch of kids how to install Linux on devices that the school already had. Schools are this environment where they have all this hardware, and in many cases they don't have money. So it's a great place to do this kind of outreach, in our opinion. Okay, I'm not going to go over this for the sake of time. Thank you for listening, and yeah, thanks to the people online, thanks to people here. I would love to get some feedback.
There we go. Thank you so much, Joseph, for the presentation. Very interesting. I invite people in venue to make any questions if they have anything to say now. And people online, we still have a couple of minutes. So yeah, go ahead.
Hello. You've partially answered already this one in your slides, but there are studies showing that it is actually more environmentally friendly to buy a new, for example, fridge every 10 or so years because of the energy costs of running the old fridge and better technologies that are in the new fridges. Something similar has been done for cars, etc. You've mentioned that, for example, for desktop computers, 75% or so energy spent manufacturing them. What's the lifetime of a desktop computer calculated within those 20% of? Because if the intended quote-unquote lifetime is 5 years and you use it for 10 years, maybe the math will change a bit.
So there is a sweet spot where replacing that inefficient device is worth it in terms of the efficiency gains from the new device. There was a study, it's from 2012, so it's a bit old. It's the only one I know of that actually tries to calculate that sweet spot from the German Environment Agency, and they estimate it would take 30 plus years of usage for devices given the disproportionate impact of the production. And another important point is that the newer devices and the newer designs of the chips, which are getting more and more efficient, are extremely energy intensive to produce.
Okay.
So there are factors you have to consider, but yes, there is a sweet spot, and apparently it's much, much longer than the average 5 years of usage.
Okay, I thought so. Also, you can still use your old desktop computer as a space heater during the winter.
Also, yes. Maybe not the best space heater, but yes.
Well, it's actually almost 100% efficient space heater. So.
So when you switch people from the Windows computers to a new Linux one, so what is the biggest obstacle that comes up? As like data transfer, or that they don't know that this icon looks a bit different and clicking that does something, or what's the main problem?
So I'm gonna say that in my experience, the biggest obstacle is when you do it on your own. Because people who have some experience with this can tell you, okay, you wanna transfer your data, do this. Okay, this isn't working, click here. And when you do it on your own, it's very hard to figure those things out. So I don't know who here has helped a family member or a friend install Linux. so most people in the room, who here has had those same family member or friend come back and say, can you help me with this? Everyone who's helped a friend install Linux, right? That's a normal part of the process. So I would say the hardest part, the biggest obstacle is doing it on your own, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to focus on that in-person support, building up that in-person support network. But yes, I think data transfer is one of those issues that's difficult. I think your printer not working and not knowing why. Nowadays, many printers you can plug in, but some might not be supported, and you don't know why, you don't know that. But I do think the in-person versus doing it on your own is probably one of the biggest obstacles, is doing it on your own and not having someone to ask, and not knowing how to ask.
So this is more like on the side, more on the side of hardware recycling and the ways that we can do this. I think nowadays it's really difficult to know, at least for the US population, you know, what alternatives you have for sort of like minimizing your carbon footprint, but also like not generating mountains of plastic waste, battery waste. And I know that there are many entities that, for example, focus on recycling batteries because you can get a good 90% back of that efficiency or that charge. But I think that by and large, we just don't seem to have a good way of sort of ending the life of hardware. And I don't know if you have some suggestions there or something that, you know, could help us out a little bit, just get oriented there. I don't know if it's exactly on the topic, but I just wanted to know that.
It's totally relevant, and I don't have a good answer to that. So how we actually dispose of devices, there are places that will do that in a responsible way, but most devices don't get recycled in that way, and many of them end up in processing places like India or Ghana illegally, and then get processed in really horrible conditions, which are put health at risk of the people doing it as well as the environment around them. So I don't know if I don't have a good, like, this is the place to go, but there are places that focus on responsible end-of-life treatment. So yeah, look it up. Maybe you can tell me once you get that answer.
So we have one last question, and unfortunately we are running late, so we'll try to hopefully keep it short. How can an organization reach out for endorsing the End of 10 campaign? I didn't see anything on the website.
Oh, that's a good point. We don't have anything on the website yet. So if they want to join our matrix room and talk to the entire campaign as a group, they can do so. I don't know where it is. Matrix here. That's the room. They can contact, if they want, me, joseph@kd.org. The better place is to go to our matrix room or go to the contribute page, and there's a mailing list that they can send it to that will also go to the entire campaign, whoever's in the mailing list, which is a better way to talk to the group. Otherwise, we will do outreach in the coming weeks, and perhaps that organization is already in our list, but we need to add this information to the website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who asked questions either in the room or online. Well, thank you, Joseph, for replying to everything and for the presentation. Another round of applause, well deserved.